Hello substreamers and welcome back to Substream News. I'm Joseph, your presenter, and I'm here in a beautiful park. Now I don't want to waste or delay any more time, so let's get straight into this week's stories. Some of you might not have been Toys R Us kids, but I definitely was, and I never expected that 20 plus years later I would be leading a tech news channel telling you a story about how the world's favourite toy store got somehow a hold of the most powerful AI video tool in the world before its public release and used it to make a video that was presented at Cannes Film Festival. That's the story. A bit of a mouthful, but stick with me because this is a good one. So yes, Toys R Us, the retail toy brand, this week premiered their new advert at Cannes Lions Film Festival, and it was almost entirely text to video using Sora, which is OpenAI's text to video tool, and it's very impressive. Anything you might have seen from Sora is kind of mind-blowing, and you know, it proves that we are here in the future already. So how did the biggest toy company in the world get a hold of the next biggest toy? Well, they have made a partnership with Native Foreign. It's one of the world's biggest and best creative agencies, and they were invited to be one of the companies who could use Sora before it goes public, basically. So I'm just going to explain a little bit about text to video. With AI, essentially, you write a prompt. So it could be man in park, teak trees, black t-shirt, white male, 31 years old, right? That would give you some kind of visual a little bit like what you're seeing now. But in Toys R Us's case, for this video, which you should see on an overlay, it would be more like young boy sees giraffe wearing pajamas in dreamlike state or something along those lines, and iteratively they improve the prompts of text and get better results with the video, and they can even instruct what kind of resolution, color themes. There's so much flexibility and potential for this. So the idea behind this video was to re-envision Charles Lazarus's dream that actually inspired him to make Toys R Us. He actually claimed the idea of a giraffe. Jeffrey the giraffe came to him in a dream, and that's what you're now seeing in this AI video. 66 seconds long, and you can't even begin to imagine how much computing power it takes to generate a video of this kind. It's enormous. Remember how I said this video was almost entirely text to video? So what wasn't? Well, two things. They had some corrective edits. They also had to weave all the video together, and they created an original score. Sorry for the sirens, they're not for me. Why is this the big story today, this week? Well, that future you're worried about with AI taking over, it's already knocking at our door, and it's about to change the world of advertising. So what next? Well, the next story. Let's move on. Okay, I'm going to stick on the theme, it's a loose connection, of robots getting a little bit too realistic. And it's coming out of Tokyo. I've had quite a few stories from Tokyo recently, haven't we? So this is coming out of the University of Tokyo. They're trying to make artificial skin for hardware devices. And clearly they've never seen Terminator, because this always ends badly in the realms of sci-fi. Could it in reality fare better? I think not.
I'm back.
Well, I might be stretching the truth a little bit. They're not really trying to create artificial skin to encase robots, but more just seeing what's possible. Can they create artificial skin, knowing how complicated that is when you account for billions of years of evolution and just how wonderful and complex skin actually is. Okay, so this was published in the Cell Reports Physical Science Journal, and essentially, yeah, they just wanted to try. They were undeterred by the thousands of complicated connections of tissue, fibers, muscles, and blood, and whatever else is there under your skin. And they wanted to see if they could make it work. Now, they did make something, And they even put weird little googly eyes on it. And it's terrifying. It may cause nightmares. So warning, in 5, we're going to show you this. 4, it may be scary. 3, look away now. 2, yeah, you might not want to see this. 1, okay, here it is. Yeah, pretty gross. Right, that's enough of that story. Let's move on. Whatever you think of Julian Assange, put it aside for a moment and just consider how crucial WikiLeaks was as a symbol for the freedom of information, and just how important it is to have transparency, especially in the face of powerful governments and ultra-powerful leaders who may just lean towards corrupt activities. That was the concept. They just wanted to make an anonymous platform for people to share information, real information, from the top. It was leaks, they were whistleblowing, and it was deemed espionage in the end. Governments cannot be all-powerful because all of that power leads to corruption and abuse of power, and abuse of power leads to tyranny. And unless we hold governments and leaders accountable, that is what will happen. And we don't want more ugly dictatorships, because the lack of this concept has already created enough on this planet. WikiLeaks was fighting against that. And so if you detest North Korea and some of the stands and Venezuela and countries where corrupted leaders have ruined countries or restricted the freedoms and human rights of their people, then, WikiLeaks was fighting your corner too. WikiLeaks' method was transparency. Its goal was justice, right? That's their mantra. That was their whole ethos. And that's really important. And who is still standing for those values today? Ask that, because WikiLeaks was crushed. What came up in its place? I can't tell you. I can't name something that came to replace WikiLeaks, because governments hate that kind of thing. This was meant to be a very quick story, but essentially the point is Julian Assange, after 14 years of hiding, fleeing, running, chilling in different embassies, countries, and eventually ending up in jail, he's now a free man, and that's because he struck a plea deal with the US that allowed him to walk free. So congratulations, Julian Assange, on your newfound freedom, and I hope you use it to launch a new WikiLeaks. Before I move on to the next question, think of what Assange has sacrificed for his values, and ask yourself, how far would you go to live out the strongest values that you believe? Would you sacrifice a third or a quarter of your life to live out those principles? Ask yourself that. Okay, on to the next story. So Waymo, which used to be Google's self-driving car project, it's now running as a taxi service. I don't think that was the initial plan, but it's happened, and it's actually working quite well. This right now is taking place in San Francisco and Phoenix, but there's also a limited capacity version in Los Angeles and Austin. And it's actually very popular, but not always. Actually, it's controversial and scandalous, because every time a driverless car is involved in an accident, somehow it's 10 times worse than a human-caused accident, even though they happen statistically less frequently. Well, despite the controversies and scandals, Google clearly feels there's a demand and value in this service, and that's why they're expanding it and making sure that that technology doesn't go to waste. In fact, and this is actually quite interesting, San Francisco is actually a really small city. It's less than 1 million people, right? And when Google opened the waitlist for the autonomous taxi service, Waymo, in San Francisco, 300,000 people signed up. That's a third of the city. That's huge. Well, I've collected some stats here about Waymo. The driverless car project is 15 years old in total, but rebranded to Waymo in 2016. It has driven over 20 million autonomous miles, quite a lot. And there have been almost 2 million paid ride-hail trips. And already, San Francisco alone, as of the end of March, there have been 3.8 million rider-only miles. That is a lot. So it seems that some parts of the US are embracing technology and robot mania, while some are not, as I'm about to tell you in my next story. Yes, Americans are going off-grid, and Michael Snyder of the Economic Collapse blog reports that there are around 20 million preppers in the US. Now, preppers is kind of a short slang for doomsday preppers, and this whole concept originated from people thinking the end of the world was coming and being totally prepared for it. So, some of them had these huge mobile homes where they could grow their own food and filter water, basically live in the wilderness for a long time. They had stores of dry food and solar energy and, a lot of ideas that would help them survive. The idea of preppers has changed a little bit and the doomsday's been dropped. I want to read you a little extract from this blog because it's very interesting. Whether it's economic collapse, as is the name of this blog, or it's civil war, contagion, or zombie apocalypse, doesn't really matter. If you want to go to the wilderness, off-grid, and survive, reading blogs like Michael Snyder's may help. Here is the introduction to this blog, and it's beautiful writing. So take a moment, pay attention. This is very nice. As our society descends into chaos, vast numbers of people are choosing to pull the plug and walk away. Of course, it is nearly impossible to completely escape the ubiquitous madness that is seemingly all around us. But many are finding that an off-grid lifestyle gives them the best opportunity to insulate themselves as much as possible. When you become less dependent on the system, what happens to the system has less of an impact on you. Unfortunately, it appears that our system is heading into a full-blown meltdown, and a significant portion of the population is feverishly making preparations in anticipation of what is coming. Wow, I love that. Okay, so it's thought that while 20 million people are preppers, there are 250,000 people already living an off-grid lifestyle in the US. I think it could be more than that because of the rise of van life. But if you think of people like living in the Utah salt flats in particular, I think they're called the slab, then that's one of the big communities. But obviously there's a lot of hermits who just out there on their own. The growth of solar technology, the ability to homestead and grow your own food, mobile and satellite data, the appeal of nature and the quiet, I can see why people like this. People are fed up. They're fed up with city pollution, city noise, overpriced everything, inflation. People are fed up. And it's probably not going to get any better anytime soon. In fact, it may get worse before it gets better. Bear that in mind. So I want to ask you, viewer, how do you feel about this? Could you ever see yourself going off-grid? Personally, I could see myself going off-grid for months of the year. Not full-time, not forever, but certainly for months of the year. To have that digital detox, that mental space, that peace of mind, the quiet, the nature, the calm. I think those are going to be expensive values in the future, expensive things to attain. How hard for you right now is it to get truly fresh air, real peace and quiet, and to completely disconnect from technology? Because it's not that easy. In fact, people spend a lot of money to go on digital detox retreats to do exactly that. Okay, our final story before we move on to a lighter note, which is how I love to end every single video. Have you ever heard of juice jacking? If not, this is important. Listen up. This is a big warning. And no, it's nothing to do with stealing some Capri Suns or juice boxes. No, juice jacking is a new form of hacking that does affect you. So when was the last time you went to a bus station or a airport terminal? Basically a place where you can plug in and charge your phone for free on one of these USB charging stations. The US Federal Communications Commission has put out a warning about juice jacking, which says, be careful when charging your phone on one of these USB public sockets, in hotel lobbies, airports, things like that, because hackers have got to them. Attackers are taking advantage of the technology built into these universal USB standard, which provides for transmitting power as well as data. So basically, they can, once you've plugged in your phone, they can steal your information and use it against you. So yeah, a malicious USB port could not only steal your data, but it could also add malware to your phone. And since phones don't really have much protection or firewall, they're a lot easier than a computer to attack. Right, I've got the FBI's actual quote here that I'm going to read to you. Avoid using free charging stations in airports, hotels, or shopping centers. Bad actors have figured out ways to use public USB ports to introduce malware and monitoring software onto devices. Carry your own charger and USB cord and use an electrical outlet instead. Sorry for the accent, but it's just 10 times better when I do a terrible impression. But yeah, basically to avoid this hack, take your own cable, take your own power bank or portable battery, whatever you like to call it, and just don't use them. And if you ever see a USB stick sticking out of the wall or just laying around somewhere, do not use it. Do not use an unknown USB stick. You're inviting trouble to your hardware. I'm going to try and find a picture. There is a picture of somebody who kind of cemented a USB stick to a wall to see if anyone would plug into it, and when they did, it uploaded malware to their phones. Humans, why are we like this? Let's move on to the lighter note. Do you like fine dining? Ooh, how about massages? What about a nice hot shower? How about all of the above? Yes, please. What about all of the above at the airport? Right, it's a bit odd, right? For me, the idea of taking a hot shower at the airport is a bit strange, but I actually do go for massages when I'm waiting for my flight. What better way to kill time at the gate? And fine dining, yeah, I mean, Burger King each time, yeah, why not? But actually, it's Delta Airlines, the news. They've introduced a new luxury lounge at New York's JFK Airport as part of a 1.5 billion investment into the airport. Wow. So this Atlanta-based airline is going to open this exclusive 39,000 square foot Delta One lounge. That's the largest sky club in the world. The amenities will include, here we go, full body massage chairs, fine dining, bathroom stalls and shower suites outfitted with robes and slippers, as well as soundproof booths to get work done. You can also drop your clothes and shoes off with a valet who will steam or shine them while you shower. And the new facility, which holds a maximum of 515 people, includes complimentary spa treatments for the eyes, hands and arms. Sounds great, right? Yeah, I'm up for that. How do you get in? It's invite only. I'm sorry, it's invite only for their most exclusive, fancy, rich customers. Or you need to pay for the Delta One service, premium cabin service that offers lie flat seats and priority check-in for round-trip fares that can reach as high as $10,000. Okay. Pricey. I've got one more thing to tell you before we go. Firstly, I want to thank you for sticking with me to the end. I hope you're enjoying our output. We work really hard. We're a small team, but we really love making these videos for you. We love tech, dystopia, futurism, and everything in between that falls into these videos. We love reporting it. We love to share information with you. So much so that we're going to start doing 2 videos a week. Doing 1 video a week has kind of given us the momentum. We're growing slowly but surely, and we now want to try, instead of 1 really long video, because these videos are 10 to 20 minutes long, we want to do 2 shorter ones a week. The format will become evident, but it will pretty much be 1 main story and then snapshot, shorter stories, just more of a roundup, right? One main story, a bit of a roundup, just to keep you informed on what's been going on the last few days. We'll keep it as interesting and pack a punch and pithy as we can. We want you to love these videos as much as we love making them. That's it for me for this week. Proudly your presenter, Joseph. Looking forward to seeing twice as much of you. See you next time.